want to welcome you to Forgotten Liberty Radio, the voice of liberty in the Central Valley of California. I am Matthew, joined as always by John. John, how's it going?
Oh, it's another beautiful Saturday morning in the valley. Nice and crisp this morning.
It is. It's finally cooled off a bit, huh?
Yeah, well, I'd like it to be a little warmer. Jacket weather never suited me much.
I love the cold, so I'm partial to that.
Well, put some pants on, you're making me cold. Anyhow, we have some exciting news this week. We're adding a co-host to the show. Some of you might know the name, Justin Quigley. We'd like to introduce him to you and make him a permanent fixture to our podcast here. How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Nice to be with you today.
Nice to have you. Nice to have you. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? I know we've had you on as an interview in the past, but now that you're coming on, tell us what kind of things you're interested in, kind of things you do for a hobby, some of your political involvement in the area here.
Sure, I'll give you a quick rundown of myself. I was born and raised here in the Central Valley in Modesto and grew up in Ceres. So I've been around here most of my life. I've moved away a couple times, but mostly been a resident here locally.
So the magnet that is Stanislaus County just kind of drags you back
It drew me
in.
back both times, yeah, when I tried to get out of here. You know, California's a great place to be geographically. You know what I mean? It's just our leadership that, worries me, as it should most people, if they care about their livelihoods and their ability to choose for themselves.
Right.
So I grew up seeing my dad kind of involved in the local political scene in Ceres. He was on the Parks and Rec committee when they had one, and he knew city council members and mayors and different prominent figures. He was in the Lions Club. So I kind of grew up being in a household that was used to being community oriented. We always, we went to the Ceres Street Fair every year since its inception. Until this year they didn't have it.
Well, before that, you know what it was?
No.
Well, it was this time of year. It was called the Harvest Festival. They did it in Smyrna Park. It was rad, dude.
I grew up right by Smyrna Park.
Yeah, but we had the carnival would come and set up in the park, and there wasn't really any vendors downtown, so to speak. But it was like a little community fair.
I remember when they'd have carnivals there at Smyrna when I was a kid.
Well, that's what it was. That was the predecessor to the Ceres Street Fair.
Okay, but it was in the fall then.
But it was in the fall, and it was like the Peach Festival.
I remember it being kind of around Halloween time, because I think they sometimes infused the Halloween vibe with it too.
Well, no, that came later, but it was always right there.
Okay, so they were just separate
thing,
ones.
Yeah.
I was a little kid back then, man.
And Ceres, the cornucopia is kind of our symbol there in that series. So that's where the whole harvest thing comes in.
Yeah, so that was my childhood, and then as a teenager, I got into music, so I play a number of musical instruments, and I sing, and I played in various bands in the area. So people may have seen me around, downtown places, Turlock, Modesto, Ceres, anywhere around here playing music. I get out and about. I've been around, and then I never really had like a solid political home, because I sometimes could agree with either side, For a lot of my years, it's not been the case so much here lately. Well, just in case our listeners are wondering.
We've had many discussions about that on this program, how the people of the Valley aren't necessarily a Republican or Democrat people. They're more of a live and let live people.
Right.
We're more of a purple district. And
a California conservative is very much kind of more libertarian, I believe, just inherently. That's kind of what led me to them. It's because what really introduced me to libertarian parties and the ideals was my coworker, that we would just discuss things and he would explain things from his view. And the more we talked, the more I was like, man, I really agree with him, or he's bringing up things that I had questioned in my mind a long time before, but didn't really think that most people thought about that kind of stuff. So then I started looking into it and just found more and more interest, and found that I agree very heavily with most of their ideals and platforms. And that led me to getting involved in the party as a member, as a dues-paying member. I had already switched my registration. I was registered as a Green from the time I could vote until recently. But like I said, I never drew strict party lines. And then getting involved in the Libertarian Party, they kind of nudged me to go run against Adam Gray because he was running unopposed as our assembly member.
Pretty much the same thing the Republicans did with Mr. Campos this time around.
They'll do that, and the Libertarians do it a lot because they don't have as big of a machine to work with. So if you get involved with the Libertarian Party, I mean, you're going to rise through the ranks fast. I was a rising star within a few appearances just from showing up. You know what I mean?
Because nobody else attends.
Well, they have a joke, man. You step out of the room, you might walk being elected to some kind of office within the party. You know what I mean? They're putting titles on me, and I don't even know the game yet. You know, I just kind of wanted to be an activist.
Well, so I should stay away.
If you don't want to get too involved, because they will suck you in, and it'll overtake your life if you let it almost. Yeah, but I mean, it's not that there's good people in the party doing good work, and they are devoting their lives to a solid cause.
Right.
I got out of it more right now because I had some side personal stuff that was taking my attention away from it. But yeah, I did the write-in campaign against Adam Gray for District 21 State Assembly, and that's how I got connected with the show, with being a guest on you guys'. You weren't hosting it back then, were you?
No, not
quite. It was an older gentleman.
Well, it was Alan.
Mr. Romander.
He's the one that passed, right?
Yeah, he passed.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. That's sad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did the show, and even before that, I had been working with the state of Jefferson a little bit and just different local. You know, I've always been into helping nonprofits and charities. Even as a musician, you play shows that are fundraiser shows. You know, you get out and do community work just to lend whatever help you can.
Right.
And that kind of just led me to where I'm at now. You know, I don't really have a home. I'm not involved in any specific organization. I'm just out trying to help spread the word and just, there's a lot of confused people that turn to me for my insights because they know that I've grown up my whole life understanding this. Even if I'm not super into it or follow it all the time, I just understand it well.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's a major reason why Matthew and I wanted your involvement in the show.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Because, you know, we value opinions of differing standpoints, but at the same time, the patriot that you are.
Oh yes, I love America.
We also, you know, want to bring in that same fervor for our rules of government and possibly from time to time a secondary viewpoint. So we're glad to have you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you guys felt so strongly, because at first I didn't realize you both were like, hey, let's bring Justin on as a regular dude. I thought it was more like we want to try out some different people and see who works.
You know what?
Which this is great, because I like doing it. It's fun.
We all kind of teased that Justin Quigley show thing, and there actually was a lot of interest for that.
I still want to get it doing.
And that you never started that up was you know, kind of disappointing to us, but, you know, things happen and we all get busy in our lives. But, you know, I got my own stuff I do on Facebook. You know, I got my own podcast that I drop sometimes.
I do still plan on having my own show.
Perfect.
That's going to be Justin Quigley show like you guys expected. So it was more
it
was more of a postponement than a cancellation. Exactly. Right. Mine's going to be more variety style.
Right.
Well, like we'll talk social and political subjects, but I want to talk like science and art and entertainment. And yeah, can you take some of the reverb out of my mic, maybe?
Can you get closer?
Is that there you go. Okay, that made a big difference. I'm awful echoey. I don't usually sound like that.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm just not used to these mics yet. You know,
they're dynamics and they are very, very sensitive, which is great for small rooms. Or sorry, they are not very sensitive, which is great for small rooms, which means
because condensers will pick everything up.
Yeah, that's why I don't use
so it's more like a performance. Yeah. This is what I use for live on stage.
It's a Shure S&B ripoff.
Okay, I've got a couple Shures, but I mostly use Sennheiser.
Okay.
Now we just lost everybody in our listening audience.
Yeah, they're talking technical stuff. Hey, man, maybe we'll get a sponsorship from name dropping some of these brands, huh?
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah, your voice is a lot stronger now.
Hell, maybe Bob can come along.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, whatever.
Our friend Bob.
Bob's gone. Bob died.
Are you sure about that? Does Bob have a son or something like that?
Was he on the show?
Oh, Bob was on one night talking about all kind of stuff. He knows a lot about PG&E.
Ah.
Isn't he a lineman?
I don't know what he is. I don't care. I'm over it. I'm over it. Hey, listen, I met Justin through our attempt to do the petition and the
okay.
representation increases when our friend, our friend Holly, was trying to do her California Rising thing. I don't know that kind of worked out very well when you don't research what you're going to name your thing, and that name's already taken. But since then, Justin, we actually got the petition off the ground. We were circulating petitions right when the Rona hit, so that kind of shut that down.
Yeah, COVID killed everything this year.
Yeah, in the meantime, I have proposed a simplified Assembly constitutional amendment. We have some local interest from our local Assembly members that want to talk about it. So we've started that organization, Americans Restoring Representation. We're the official podcast of that movement, just because that's my baby, you know.
Right.
So we give a few minutes each week to that, and we've got some listener feedback on those topics. One of the subjects we're doing there is similar to Jefferson. Everybody in the Americans Restoring Representation movement is a former Jefferson person that realized that the CFR lawsuit wasn't going anywhere. Much like John's rants in the beginning, we're saying, look, the federal courts have no jurisdiction. Subsequently, we all know that the federal courts have said, hey, we don't have no jurisdiction, even at the appeals level. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of dead.
So are you saying the Jefferson movement's pretty much over?
I don't know that it's over. I mean, because they can do their own thing. They have started doing a constitution and this and that. But what we have at Americans Restoring Representation is a movement called Divided Together. Mm-hmm. Would be forming 8 states out of the state of California, not just concentrating on that northern section.
Right.
But actually realizing that California as a whole is,
breaking it up more regionally.
Right. Well, what happens is we're looking at the socioeconomical ties that the different counties have to each other.
Right.
And have separated that into 8 independent things.
Geographically, there's so many different Californias.
Right,
you got the valley, the bay, the mountains, the desert.
Right.
And people look at it on a map and don't realize that it's not just one huge beach.
Yeah. I don't know if Matthew has a map that he can throw up while we're talking about it, but basically in our area, that would be, Stanislaus and San Joaquin counties, Calaveras, Tuolumne, Mono County to our east.
Oh, you want the actual?
Yeah, I can see it.
Merced, from here. Madera.
That looks like a very good.
Yeah, sorry.
We're trying to break it up into bigger groups, and part of what happened, or more groups. Part of what I think makes this more successful is I sit down with Josh Harder pretty much every opportunity I get.
Oh, really?
Now, Josh Harder and I aren't personal friends, but I've made it a point to, this representation issue is still key for Americans Restoring Representation. The same things that you came with Holly to learn about, those are still the same things we're doing. We're saying that 435 in the House and 120 in Sacramento is still way too small.
Right.
Great Britain today has a combined, between the House of Lords and House of Commons, a combined representation ratio of 1 per 45,000 people. Well, here we are, we're at 750,000 federally.
That's even less than what the Founding Fathers had in mind for this country when they set their ideal maximum limit.
Right, as far as Articles of the First was concerned at 50,000.
Right, exactly.
Right? But okay, if you look at that 45 that Great Britain is today, they're only 66 million people.
Yeah.
1,400 and some representatives, right?
Even 45,000 is a lot of people to represent.
Well, it is. It really is.
Think about how many people that is that you personally would have to be like, I'm representing 45,000 people. That's a town. You know,
right.
That's a full city.
That's Ceres.
A medium size, yeah.
That's Ceres.
Exactly.
You know?
There's no way I could possibly know the opinion of everyone in my town.
Right, but if you were running for a district of 500,000 people.
Exactly.
Right. So take that as a former candidate into perspective, people. When Justin says that 45,000 is a lot of people, he already had to fathom this idea of representing 500,000.
Right.
So
heck, just campaigning for it with the limited campaign that I did was, wow, man, you get just an idea for the district that you're running for.
Right.
Wow.
So,
that's a big area to cover.
So you can see how even the candidates, even the assembly people, you know, you just heard it firsthand. What we've been saying all along, these people cannot connect with you.
No, that's how you end up with the career guys that just get kind of trained into the position.
Well, and then they come back and run for, county board of supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. But so that's what we're doing. And that, I sat down with Josh Harder, and he said, when I told him 435 is unacceptable, 750,000 average is unacceptable. We have Wyoming is the smallest state population, 570,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even they have a bigger voice in Congress than we do as District 10 citizens.
Right.
And we needed to do away with that Apportionment Act of 1929 and add seats to the House, lower that ratio. And he says, that would take a constitutional amendment. The man doesn't realize that it didn't take a constitutional amendment to freeze our House. But he thinks to add seats, it would take an amendment.
Right.
When
all you would have to do is reverse that original law.
Right. But that's what the census is all about, right? Not bringing us fire trucks. Our cities bring us fire trucks.
Yeah, the census was supposed to be how we determine our representation in the House.
Yeah, and apportionment of taxes.
Right.
Right, but 11th Amendment, now we got to just pay taxes to the federal government. There's no state check on that. There's no balance on taxation anymore.
Right.
So he says, but what we can do is we can add 12 senators to the state of California.
No.
12 senators. Yeah, but this is what the
Party.
Democrat
The
Party.
state Senate.
No, we're talking federal when you talk to Josh Harder. So he wants California. The Democrat Party wants California to have 12 senators.
But that doesn't make sense because the Senate is based on equal states.
But Nancy
Everyone
Pelosi
has 2 senators, so the states have an equal say in the Senate.
Right. This is your current every voice counts Democrat Party. This is their thinking.
I haven't heard this one yet.
Well, you didn't sit down with Josh Harder.
I went to his town hall when he came to Ceres.
Yeah, I was there too.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
I don't think we had met yet at that point. Did you get to ask him a question? I wanted to, but I didn't. He ran out of time before I could ask him.
Charles Dossett, we interviewed him. He actually did ask him some questions there at the town hall. I met with Josh that morning at the Houston Library.
Mm-hmm.
And then I meet with him subsequently in Riverbank. And there comes a time where, even though I still call his office, I'm not sitting down with the retard anymore. and you laugh, and I have to be honest about it. He's retarded.
Well, I'm laughing at your candor, not the fact that he's retarded. That's frightening, but...
Well, but the man really is...
I get the same feeling when I deal with many government people.
He's retarded. Because, like you just said, well, you can't add 12 senators, right?
Yeah, that's not how it's based.
It's not how it works.
If you add 12 in California, you got to add 12 to every state.
But they're pushing for that. They're pushing for that. They're
so
pushing
we'll have 12
for...
times 50, that's 600 senators? And
no, see? They're pushing for senators to be representative of population as well, not state.
not equality amongst the state. Well, then what's the point in having 2 chambers?
Well,
if it's strictly based on population, you only need 1 chamber of Congress.
You know what? And that's exactly
the reason they split it into 2 chambers. Is one's based on population, one is based on equality amongst the states.
Right, and that's
Did they not go to their high school government class?
Well, the
I
man.
mean, I've known this stuff since I was probably in junior high or elementary school.
Yeah, but the man went to Harvard or Yale or something. Where'd he go to school, Matthew? You know,
I don't
where
know.
he went to school.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
he's Ivy League. Yeah, for
It
sure.
don't matter. He's a jamoke.
Well, yeah. Look at what look what the Ivy League turns out these days.
I was gonna say, yeah. So,
Look at AOC, man. Boston University owes her a refund.
No,
Harvard and Stanford.
well, Boston, Harvard, and Stanford owe us all refunds
Yeah.
because I'm sure none of them paid for their education.
No. Not if you're going. I mean, even the UC and CSUs, I mean, they get a lot of California money, right?
Look, I'm not trying to slam Josh Harder's father, but what's he, a doctor of optometry? I mean,
I think you're right.
not a brain surgeon, and there's not a whole lot of money in optometry. Dude, these glasses literally cost me like more than the visit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So $45, $50 a person, what are you going to get even if you're boning the insurance company? Can you run that up to $100 a visit? That's $800 a day by the time you pay your E&O insurance and all this. Your rent your building. Optometrists didn't making that much, so I'd be curious as to where Josh Harder's college education at the Ivy League school was paid for through.
Yeah.
Pell Grants, this and that, whatever. Oh, it's all refund. Anyhow, they don't get it. But if we take California and we divide California into 8 states, that makes 7 more. How many senators would that be?
Right. Yeah, that's
Well, that's 16 versus the 2 we have now. Josh Harder only wants 12. Well, I'm trying to give him
proposing to add more.
I'm trying to give him 4 more than he wants.
Yeah, but that idea frightens them because if you split it, then you'd have conservative areas because people don't realize there's red pockets in California.
We just talked
if
when
you
you said
if you add 12 more senators in the whole great state of California, they're all going to be Democrat.
No, they're not.
If they do it his way, they will be.
Right, but if you look at it like you said when we first introduced you and we were talking, it's not a red or blue.
Oh yeah,
state.
yeah.
This is a purple state.
Oh, it's such a mix. It's such a mix.
Okay, but
that's why I thought the Libertarian Party would take off in the Central Valley. I was like all gung ho about it at first, and then nobody had any interest, and I just kind of went.
Well, the problem is parties at their inception are strictly just for the parties, and the people don't understand that.
Right.
You're just sending money to a party.
Well, even within the Libertarian Party, even the beliefs are true, but you still see the inner turmoil and all the fighting amongst the party. It's the same politics you see everywhere else.
Right.
That's why I can't really. I'm not knocking the party, but I have kind of transitioned back to being a small L versus a big L, which those that don't know the difference, when you look at the R's and the D's and whatever party letter you carry, if you're a capital, if you see it capitalized, that means that you're like a full-fledged party member, paying dues, being active. If you're small L, it's just someone that carries the ideology. You still believe it and agree with them, but you're not really like an active member of it. Mm. You're not just a part. Another thing for people, you're not a party member just because you register a certain way. Like a party requires you to pay dues and join and get a membership and all that. So just keep that in mind when you think about your stances and. Because some people do draw very hard party lines. And even though I still consider myself a libertarian, I still see myself siding with the Republicans on some things. And believe it or not, maybe a Democrat here and there on certain issues. But mostly they've gone off the rocker lately.
Mostly?
Well, by and large.
Rocker? Yeah. Is it a rocker if you only have one curved leg under your chair?
One of the legs broke out and they fell over, maybe. I don't know. I kind of liked Tulsi Gabbard. She was all right. But they kind of ran her out of the party because she was, not really toeing the line.
Yeah, who knows? Anyways, so that's where we're kind of at with that 8-state deal.
Right. I can see that being.
It's just one more reason for the 8. I mean, we looked at the 8 as based on, synergy.
Right.
Culturalism.
Well, I could see on the map you drew, you took a lot of time to look at the regional aspects of California because it almost looked divided the way they used to do territories a long time ago, which was through natural boundaries.
Right.
Rivers, waterfronts, mountain ridges, things that actually separated you from other people physically.
Pretty much. I mean, you take we're calling it Ahwahnee because the area we're in here, Stanislaus, San Joaquin, Merced, Madera, Inyo, Calaveras Tuolumne, this was the historic region of the Miwok Indian, and to honor that Miwok heritage that this area has. And, much because I've explained it to our listeners before, John's got a big mouth. A lot of this is based on John's idea.
Right.
Awani means, deep grassy valley or big mouth.
Right.
And just thought that was fitting as a proposed name for our area.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, even Stanislaus derives from Estanislao, which was an Indian chief.
And
Native American, sorry.
Tuolumne's like those who live in stone houses or.
But you know what the funny thing is? Stanislaus, the way we spell it, is actually like the name of a Polish king.
So you know what? Because white people came in here and just did whatever sounded right to them.
It's funny though, because I was sharing when I was younger and with my wife. We're separated now, but I was telling her the story of him, and the statue that's outside the courthouse there downtown Modesto. And we looked it up, and it said Stanislaus, a Polish king. And she's like, "You're so full of it." And I'm like, "No, I swear that's the real story." Like, she didn't want to believe me, because the spelling was different. And I'm like, that's kind of weird how it actually.
Well, but like take another organization, the ECV, and then you look at their
logos, the little cartoony face.
Yeah, but it's spelled correctly on their
their logo. Stanislaus Clampus Vitus.
Right, and these guys, they're they get a bad rap. They're not all about the drinking. They're just guys that happen to drink together.
I wonder how long till the PC Brigade comes after them for their logo. Like the Cleveland Indians.
You know what though, but every chapter has a different logo, and it's a regionalized logo,
and there's people of many different ethnicities in the clampers. I know black clampers and Mexican clampers.
In professions, Indians, judges, cops, lawyers.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, this is more of a historic.
It's a multiverse group, that's for sure.
Historical preservation group at its core.
Yeah, mostly they clean up historic sites and graveyards and cemeteries. And
right,
stuff. Then they get drunk afterwards.
Whatever, guys get together, they have a beer,
Yeah, totally.
Whatever.
I mean, I don't drink really too much anymore, but I'll smoke a doobie with one of them dudes. It's legal in this state now, so I can say
whatever. That floats your boat. No, so that's kind of where all that stuff came out of, and some of our listener feedback. We kind of teased the state number one. That would have been the traditional Jefferson territory a couple weeks ago. And one of our listeners dropped me a message that said, you kind of made it sound like an impoverished area, that it'd be one of the poorer states there. And they just wanted to put their opinion out there that if it hadn't been for the environmental regulations that stripped the logging, the mining,
there'd be an industry there.
There would be industry there, and prior to those environmental regulation changes, they were one of the wealthier areas of the state.
Well, and if they could escape California control, then they could bring that back.
Well,
they'd have their own state power to reintroduce that, right?
Right. So with that mining and that forestry that could come back, they would become more prosperous.
Yeah.
And absolutely be able to fund their own
for
government.
Certain. They say there's still a ton of gold in the Sierras, man.
Oh,
they did barely scratch the surface in the 19th century.
We don't know, but if Matthew wanted to throw that map back up, that feedback got me thinking about the with the return of sanity and the return of the people's control of government, how this could affect a majority of the state. And our proposed states areas 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and possibly 6, which is pretty much everything along the Cascades or the Sierras.
Right.
And some there in Sonoma County, Napa County, like that. They have some logging there that's been stifled. But you're taking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and possibly 6. You're taking 75% of the territory of the state of California has just been decimated.
Now, are the numbers on the map or?
No, we don't have the numbers on this map.
Well, can we point out which sections or which numbers?
So, like
Because I see
On
like
the-
these three here that are our main area.
Yeah, so like on the
They're kind of
ARR,
mountain and valley can.
so like on the ARR page, there's spreadsheets that people could go to look at.
Where would they find this?
That's on the Americans Restoring Representation Facebook page.
Okay.
So we can do, since it's just those 6, and we're kind of teasing this idea. Read those counties. So we did the state number 1 would be Del Norte, Siskiyou, Modoc, Humboldt, Trinity, Shasta, Lassen, Tehama, Mendocino, Glen, Butte, Plumas, Lake, and Colusa counties. That's up at the top.
The very top one in the orange border.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
people
slide
can't
this
people
way.
can't really see what we're pointing at, but
Right.
I
Well, that's
think-
why I'm making a
Matthew-
point. If we
Matthew-
describe it to them, they might know which
Well,
one.
Matthew has it up split screen. What you're seeing on my iPad is actually what our listeners or current viewers are actually seeing.
Right. So I'm trying to help them get
There
an
you go.
idea for which
So, right,
sections or
that's
which
the
numbers.
northernmost part of California,
Right there.
Yeah, the top part. Yeah.
and
Oh,
know,
there you
that's-
go.
that's the majority of the Jefferson
Right.
territory.
Yeah, you
there.
can see the basic shape of what their state was taking.
And that's what the listener was kind of referring to. If those mining and logging industries came back, that area would be prosperous because it was once
Right.
before prosperous.
Well, that's what I was looking at. Even these 3 that are on the east below it.
Well,
If
if you
they're
look,
they on the eastern side, they're in the mountains, but as they come to the west, they're in the valley. So you'd have a split of valley and mountains in 3 counties
right,
there.
but if you go to state,
well, those would be states, right?
right, those would be these are proposed individual states. So if you go to state number 2, and this didn't
That's
come
the
from
green one here. No, that's the pink one.
The pink over there. This
Okay.
didn't come from these additional states didn't come from the listener feedback. They come through a conversation with myself and others about the feedback.
Mhm.
And what I'm saying is, okay, so state number 2, we talked about that 2 weeks ago. Sonoma, Solano,
Which is basically the North Bay.
right? Sonoma, Solano, Napa, Marin, Contra Costa, Alameda, San Francisco, and San Mateo. Now that's pretty much a wealthy area.
Yeah, very much so.
But even in Sonoma and Napa counties, we had some redwood logging industry there.
Right. Oh, yeah, there's coastal mountains in those areas.
Right. So that's some agriculture that could come back
Mhm.
should they be able to change their policies. I don't see that proposed state.
No, but they'd
It-
still be fine off their tourism.
The wineries, yeah. The wineries.
Yeah,
in
and, well, and
San
there's a lot of
Francisco would-
historical sites on that coastline, too.
But they would see
Old military bases and stuff.
right. But my point is in this, they would see some economical growth if
Oh, totally.
if they were able to stymie some of that regulation that we have. I don't think it's going to be anything that proposed state would change.
No,
but
probably not, because that's kind of a yuppie area.
Right, but it's a possibility is all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. But
Right.
even they don't even need it, because they'd still be fine with their other industries.
But then you look at proposed state number 3. This is the area in the green.
Okay.
That's Sierra, Nevada, Placer, Yuba, Sutter, Yolo, Sacramento, El Dorado, and Amador counties, right?
That's like the greater Sacramento area. And east of that.
Yeah, but
Like going toward Tahoe.
short of Sacramento County, these other counties in that area have actually, well, I guess Yolo, Sacramento and Yolo weren't affected by those changing environmental regulations that
Right,
took away
right.
the logging and mining industry.
Yeah, because that's
there.
agriculture there.
Right. But those areas definitely would see an increase if they were able to make their own decisions on whether logging is a
Yeah, there's a lot of mountain in that area.
right. And that's going to see some increase in economic revenue if they're able to do their own thing.
Certainly.
And then we're in this proposed state number 4. I'm done calling that state number 4. We're just rolling with the state of Ahwahnee.
Right.
And because regardless, we need
And now that one's got the same deal. You'd have a mix of agriculture and mountain land
Right.
that you could bring back to the timber industry.
right. That's our area here: Alpine, Calaveras, San Joaquin, Stanislaus, Tuolumne, Merced, Mariposa, Mono, and Madera. I mean, that's this whole Sonora Pass, Yosemite region.
Exactly. Everything
And,
directly east of San Francisco.
Yeah,
once you get over the coastal mountains.
Right.
Yeah, that's in
more San Francisco, Santa Clara, all that Bay Area.
that's the South
You know,
Bay.
we are the bedroom communities for the Bay Area.
Right.
Right. Now that employment still would stay the same. They need to have that workforce over there still. People aren't going to relocate just because they live here. I mean, people live in New Jersey and work in New York all the time.
Oh,
right?
yeah. People that live close to state borders cross the state borders all the time. It's not a big deal.
I mean,
yeah, because that's totally Silicon Valley, man. They're not going to go away.
Right.
They're going to keep the tech industry booming there.
Right. So, I mean, even so, of all the areas, we still have Sierra Pacific. Right. We still have the Standard Mill. We still have the Chinese Camp Mill.
Right.
So,
well, and we have a ton of agriculture in our area too.
Right, but this is all private logging, right? That's all private land logging that Sierra Pacific Industries do, or logging on private land that the state or federal government environmental policies don't have any effect on. Right now, we have county governance that says, you won't cut no tree over 12 inches or this or that.
Right.
But if we got away from that California stranglehold on our environmental practices, our what we know to be good stewardship of the land, we could bring back that logging industry.
Yeah, you mean not letting them get overgrown with dead trees?
Well, right, and facing the problem we have now with the major fires, right?
Yeah, and it's funny, they act like they're doing this to protect the forest and the trees and the natural growth there, but they're actually killing off many varieties and species of plants that can't grow because of the overgrowth that doesn't get cleared out,
right?
Or isn't allowed to burn when it's supposed to burn, because naturally there should be the occasional forest fire that doesn't rage out of control because it happens frequently enough that it clears out all of that.
Well, I don't know if you remember, if you were paying attention in the late 80s, but Yellowstone was like decimated by fire.
Was it?
Yeah, and that was all lightning strike fire, and because it started in the park, it was considered naturally occurring.
Right.
And they didn't put it out. That's probably one of the largest fires in the nation ever.
Huh.
And you could see it from space.
Right.
NASA was doing their photos and all this from the satellites on that. But that was naturally occurring in a place where we didn't go in and thin and do these, and here we are, some 40 years later, we learned nothing.
Right.
And not quite. I mean, if it was 86, 87, we're not quite 40 years, but we're
over 30.
Every bit of 30 getting there. And now we're back to these large fires of that scale.
Right.
And did we learn nothing from that? Did we not learn that,
obviously not.
The undergrowth and all these things contributed to that?
Mm-hmm.
And yet we enacted those same policies in California that allowed that to happen. Now, we've gone through 4 proposed states that could have had different environmental practices and could have stopped these big fires that we've had,
right,
through stewardship of the land,
right,
not through environmental radicalism, right?
Well, there's this problem with acting as if trees and wood and forest and logging is not a renewable resource, like as if it's a limited supply. But I mean, people do realize that trees grow out of the ground, right? I mean, they literally drop seeds and grow more trees. I mean,
yeah, but they've never had a fruitless mulberry in their front yard.
It's a naturally occurring process. There will be more trees. We can cut some down and grow more. You can even plant more where you've cut some down. I mean, there's logging outfits that do that.
Yeah, but people in Los Angeles, people in San Francisco,
they don't understand that.
Yeah, people that live in the cities don't. I mean, you want a tree, you plant a tree.
Right.
Right. And they don't understand that Sierra Pacific, they cut them trees down, pull the stumps out, go back and plant more trees.
Exactly.
So on that piece of property, 12, 15, 20 years from now, they can go harvest those trees again.
Exactly. And they're still having the same environmental benefit You know what I mean? Because they're replacing them. You're still putting more trees to suck in the carbon, produce more oxygen. It was like this really weird thing when I was in elementary school. They really targeted like the deforestation of the rainforest, down in South America and everything. And they acted like we're just going to like the planet's going to run out of trees and we'll have no more oxygen and everybody's going to like just suffocate to death or something. Like that was like the global warming or like the climate change of my generation in school. Right. It was that in the ozone layer. They always talked about the hole in the ozone layer. The hole in the ozone layer, it's irreparable. We'll never be able to close it back up. It'll only get bigger. And now it's like almost a forgotten issue.
Well, it's not political. It's not political.
That's kind of the point I'm alluding to here. You know what I mean? They always find some kind of scare tactic that's environmentally based that we really have no control over.
Right. Well, we're kind of getting away from where we were. But you take like state number 5 as far as the lumber industry: Santa Cruz, Monterey, Santa Clara, San Benito, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura. Now you get down there to the south: San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Ventura, San Benito. May not be a lot of lumber there, but there is lumber in Santa Cruz, Monterey, and Santa Clara counties.
Yeah.
So...
Well, in any of these that are coastal, you've always got tourism on the coastal areas.
Right.
People flock to California for our beaches, our historical sites. Like, California is not hurting for people to come spend their money here.
Look at that. Matthew changed up the
map. I seen him over there working on it. I didn't want to blow the surprise for everyone.
Got like 2 green ones there, but I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to mix up the colors a little bit.
At least he split them between, so they don't look like one big green one.
Right. And that's the benefit we get of having Justin. Matthew can do neat things over there for you guys.
So real time.
So then the last county or group of counties or state formation proposed area that this could benefit, and this is just the listener feedback about the logging and the mining and that would be Inyo, Fresno, Kings, Tulare, and Kern. Now we don't think about Tulare or Kern County necessarily having logging, or Fresno County, because they're agriculture.
Right.
We've tilled the land.
That's a lot of flat land. Yeah. Valley.
But Inyo and Kings, once you get past Visalia, now listen, people, I'm not proposing that we go in and cut down the giant sequoias. But there are
those would still be national parks anyway.
Well, it's national
the
park.
States can't go in and intrude on national park land anyway, so those would still be protected, right?
Well, if you believe that the federal government has the
authority... Well, that's a whole nother conversation, and we're going all the way back to Teddy Roosevelt on that one. But
Teddy Roosevelt said,
I'm just saying,
only dead Indians are good Indians, so, if we go there, we have to talk about other things.
But he made the national park, so he's a hero, right?
Right, anyway. Whatever,
Well, no, I agree. Teddy Roosevelt is a fascinating individual, historically speaking, and he's very, how do you put it, like, paradoxical. You know what I mean? Because he had his humanitarian nature, and then he was a warmonger on the other side.
Right. No, but like I'm saying, that those areas would definitely see some benefit from the state split. So that's the feedback.
Well, like I said, any of those regions that are on the coast would not have to worry.
Yeah,
because you still got tourism is like probably one of their biggest industries.
Right. So what I think we want to do is we were going to tease you with state number 3 this time. We're not going to do that. Some other feedback has been that people just don't have time to concentrate on this with the election being so close. Mm-hmm. The second group of feedback I got was if we could readdress those areas in more detail after the election. Mm-hmm. So now that we have Justin on board, and we're going to postpone that specific discussion about these states till after the election, we'll get you all the information on the 8 from 1 divided together, and you can do some research on that.
Yeah, and then I'll be a little more knowledgeable.
And then each week after the election, we'll go over,
Well, it also probably benefits our listening audience for you to explain it to me too, because you're breaking it down more in depth that way.
Right.
But yeah, I'll read it over and
we'll start over with
brush up on it
with each state after the election. And
do like a deep dive on each one.
Do like a 15-20 minute deep dive on each proposed state area.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that way, people have some time to prepare for that Saturday 9 a.m. Stuff. And we'll move on to the rest of the show. So, one place I wanted to go today was the executive authority that the governor has, be it in the Constitution, his executive orders that he's subsequently made because of this coronavirus.
Yeah. You mean all of his dictates?
Yeah, like wear your mask. But if you got one of these, 32 medical conditions, you're not required to wear a mask.
Right.
Everything that everybody's saying, you're a mask hole because you're not wearing a mask.
Mask hole. I don't know if I've heard that one yet.
Well,
yeah, I don't get it, man. Scientifically, they're been proven to not really be this miracle thing that everybody.
No, scientifically, that came out in the past 2 weeks is 70% of people who have contracted coronavirus have in fact been wearing a mask.
Right. Well, and not only that, but I've had friends that are like nurses and people in the medical industry that say bacterial infections have gone way up. Well, and that's because people are wearing dirty masks all the time that aren't getting cleaned, and they're just breathing in the same nasty stuff all the time.
Okay, if you take coronavirus from the beginning. Okay, so like last October, November, I had probably the worst flu-like symptoms I'd experienced.
So you think you may have already had it?
Well, and they lasted into and through December. You know what I mean? It's like this cold none of us could ever shake last year, right?
Right.
I don't know if you experienced
that.
No,
I didn't end up getting sick last winter.
But a lot of people from October, November, December
experienced
I've heard
that. I've heard a lot of people saying that.
So you take my personal experience. Now I live in Merle Village in Ceres, between Whitmore and Fowler, between Moffett and Mitchell. That area is known as Merle Village. Those homes had no insulation when they were built. They don't have dual pane windows when they were built. Now some of us have replaced windows, insulated the walls, upgraded electrical, these things over the years.
Right.
But my bedroom particularly, I hadn't torn the sheetrock off, insulated, and this and that. And New Year's weekend, I decided to remodel my bedroom because I do have mold allergies. Mm-hmm. And those homes tend to produce mold in them because of the lack of insulation and the lack of adherence to sealed building practices that we have today. So I was like, well, this year is extremely bad. Mm-hmm. And I just can't enough Benadryl or enough Claritin or enough of these allergy medications to combat what's happening in my body because of the allergen. The perceived allergen attack that I was having. I don't believe at this point that it was, that and that's runny nose, congestion, sinus headache. These things I'm confusing for that. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, at that point in time,
might have been coronavirus.
Well, we know
there's a chance of it.
We know that there's 7 coronaviruses that affect human beings.
Yeah,
right?
It's not like this is the first one that came around or anything.
3 of them being the cause of the common cold.
Right.
So when you go get your test for coronavirus, the test is so sensitive, right?
It could be reading one of those.
That it's reading one of those, okay? No, and that was the threshold that the government established. It had to be able to detect a small portion of what they're calling COVID-19.
Right.
Which is just, so, like a new name, COVID-19, it's novel. No, it's not novel, it's SARS-2.
It's just a mutation of other pre-existing
SARS,
ones.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I did that.
Which would make sense to people having maybe a certain amount of immunity to it, or at least like the beginning of it, because we've been exposed to its ugly cousins in the past. If it is a mutation of ones we've already had. I'm not saying that's the case, but it's just I'm speaking in theory here, which
Right.
I know theory is frowned upon on social media, but
I think everybody is. Well, what are they going to do?
well,
What are they
we've
going to
had
do?
so
Hit
much-
us with a banner that says partly false information?
yeah, exactly. We've had so much conflicting information from the government sources themselves. It's like you don't know what to believe or think anymore. Like, is it even real? I don't know. Probably. Maybe they blew it out of proportion. Like, I know at this point, I'm not scared to get it anymore.
I never
really
to
was
get it.
scared, but I was a little cautious at first. Like, is this really as bad as they're making it sound? But
Well, you know what?
I don't panic. I don't live my life in fear. But now
Yeah,
I'm at the
we
point
all-
like I don't even care if I get it.
We all got an expiration date.
Exactly. What are you going to hide out in your house until it's over?
Well, that'll kill you too.
Exactly. Well, that's kind of the thing that 2020 has taught me. It's not really important how we live. It's just important how we die.
Right.
And that only matters if it's COVID or if you get killed by a cop. I mean, more or less, right? I mean, that's what 2020 has taught me so far.
Right.
It's not important that we live. It's only important that we don't die of COVID or police
exactly.
bullets.
Exactly. Well, you know, I don't think that we got time or desire to go over the executive section of the Constitution. Everybody needs to read that, but and understand it. But what we do have time to do is transform this Rona discussion into what the original executive order of Gavin Newsom did.
Right.
You know, they've closed down all our fairgrounds. They've closed down all activity at the fairgrounds.
Everything was canceled this year. No fairs. Didn't get to
Right.
go to the rodeo.
Right, but and they're basing that all off the original orders, and all it said. If you look up the original state of emergency proclamation from Gavin that they're basing all those closures on,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at sections 6 and 7 specifically, 6.
Oh, what?
Well,
So you've printed
sections-
out the actual mandate that he put out.
Well, this is the state of emergency. Sections 5, 6, 7, and 8 are the ones that concern me. And 5 and 6, just because our fair boards allowed our fairgrounds to be shut down and all those activities to cease based on this state of emergency. And all it says in there is if federal, state, local laws say you can't do certain things at a fairgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
that those ordinances or laws are set aside, that the Office of Emergency Services can use the fairgrounds for strategic COVID-19
Yeah, to make like temporary
purposes.
hospitals and such.
Right.
Yeah,
And
they
then-
tried to do that at Stanislaus, didn't they?
I don't know.
I
what
don't
they
think
tried to
anybody
do.
even went. I think
And
like
then-
8 people showed up or something.
And then they go in to say, you know, any state-owned properties is number 5 and fairgrounds is number 6. So because fairgrounds aren't specifically state-owned, they're more
Or
district-owned,
county probably.
right? Yeah, well, they're fair district-owned,
Okay.
but the governor in the state of California oversees the fair boards, the fair districts.
Right. But the fairs
So-
are mostly broken down county by county,
Right.
county fair.
Right.
So
So
but
that
what you're
just
saying is
that
it's,
just
it's not
addressed-
necessarily the local government that owns it, though. It's like a organization that does the fair.
right. It's its own separate entity.
Okay.
Right,
Like a
like the-
nonprofit or something.
Like the Fair Board,
Okay.
Stanislaus County Fair Board just oversees the Stanislaus County Fair District.
Okay.
It's
and
not
they're the ones
necessarily-
that own the property. then.
Right, but it's not necessarily county because
No, yeah.
our fair district includes all areas serviced by TID.
Which would be parts of Merced County.
Right. So Stevenson and Hilmar and these kids can
Gustine.
participate in our fair district.
Okay, I didn't know
Right.
that.
So
See, you're educating me on some of our Stanislaus County Fair
Right, but
protocol.
but the governor does appoint members to the fair board.
Okay.
So the governor still is the executive officer of our fair districts throughout the state.
So he
But
still views
he
it
didn't
under
say-
his control.
Right, but he doesn't say in the declarations that you close down your fairgrounds and you stop your business dealings with these racetracks and you stop your business dealings with these traveling sales.
I think a lot of those
organizations.
decisions were made on the county level, weren't they? I think because Stanislaus County issued their own state of emergency.
But a lot of these orders are all based in part by this order or the recommendations of Fauci or Birx.
Exactly. No, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I know that our county did issue its own state of emergency from our health officer or whatever you call him. What's her name? Julie Vaishim or whatever.
Dr. V. Dr. V. She hangs out with Josh Harder at the retard camp. Hey, and listen, I'm a tight ass. Matthew will have to put a mark there because whatever, the live people get to hear straight up how it is. But I don't have insurance because it costs too much. Dude, I literally utilized the Stanislaus County Public Health Services Agency for my, diabetes management.
Right.
Whatever doctor you see is able to prescribe your medication. Now, I don't necessarily agree that federal government should be overseeing the prescription of medication nor the state. I think what we put in our bodies is our own issue.
Right.
Like, I love...
It's a very libertarian stance on that one.
Hey, but look at Mexico. You walk in and you get what you want. Mm-hmm. I could walk right over the border in Yuma into Algodones in years past, pre 9/11, and just tell the guy, "Hey, give me some cephalexin. Here's 500 pills."
And it's like a tenth of the price, right?
Right. But it's made the same place my prescription bottle was filled at, right? So, I mean, I'm not going to pay thousands of dollars a month for medical services through an insurance company.
Right.
When, hey, I can pay the penalty on my taxes for not having insurance, for not being a patron of an insurance company. That's basically what Covered California is, just a
right.
Force
and that's
you.
What they were doing on the national level
Right.
until they killed that part of the bill.
Force you to purchase a product, right? We know that. And we know that's why they're all freaked out about Amy Coney Barrett, but that's a whole different issue.
Well, I mean, I get insurance through my work, and you know what?
But
I very seldom take a doctor visit or go to the hospital because I'm a healthy person. If
right,
I
but
had
I'm
an
saying
issue
I utilize,
that was regular, right? Like for you, it's understandable.
I utilize that specific county department that this Dr. V oversees, and the broad's a retard. Okay? She's not a doctor. She's a bureaucrat. She's a political liaison.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's definitely got some kind of position in the local government. She's the one that said shut everything down.
She hasn't treated a patient in I don't know how long. Honestly, her job is that of the sheriff. And like Dirksey, I've been critical of him on here, but he's not actively engaged in law enforcement activity, just like Dr. V isn't actively engaged in medicine.
I feel like he's mostly been out of the public eye since he's been elected, Dirksey. Yeah. I haven't really seen much of him since he's been in office.
Because the sheriff in this county is more worried about budgetary issues. The undersheriff,
Adam Christian was out and about all the time, man. I met him on several occasions.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whether you like him or not, at least he was accessible.
He would even say on 1360 with Dave Diamond or Dave Bowman or whoever he called himself subsequent shows before he moved back to Seattle, that job is more of a figurehead and of a budgetary officer.
Right.
And however, the same thing for Dr. V as the chief medical officer in the county. She's overseeing that entire department.
No, it's just like the education system. The administrators pull in the big bucks.
Right.
That's why they create those positions.
Right.
Why you think they talk about teachers don't get enough pay, but what's his name that just passed? James Enochs? They had like, what, $250,000 a year retirement? What does a retired administrator need $1 million every 4 years for?
Their salary is $250,000 a year.
Yeah, and he got 100% salary in his retirement.
Well, you got to come back to this 8 from 1 divided together. A lot of people, or even the state of Jefferson movement, well, it'll never happen because we're not funding CalPERS. All these unfunded liabilities that the new states are going to they're going to come in debt. Well, no, they're not going to come in debt because they don't
have to pay that.
No. Well, the bottom line is, why is the state of California paying that?
Well, because they made too many promises to
Are you in a union?
I used to have a CalPERS account. No, I'm not currently working a union job. My job's independent.
But as a union employee, take sheet metal, carpentry, all these plumbers, lath and plaster, all these different deals, that your retirement is a portion of your hourly wage, and that comes out.
Right.
And that goes into a retirement fund. Now, your union reinvests that retirement fund for you to grow that retirement.
Well, they're supposed to.
Okay.
If it's a legitimate union.
Okay.
We do know in the past that unions have been busted for misappropriating funds.
Well, that's not our problem. And CalPERS,
well, it is if you're in one of the unions.
Yeah, CalPERS and CalSTRS. I'm talking as, citizens of the state of California, or people that want to break away from California, become their own state. So CalPERS, CalSTRS, whether it's public employee union or state employee union, these public-private things where we're funding a portion of that employee's retirement, and we're doing this throughout the years. That's not how it works in the private sector union.
No, not at all, no.
Right? So any agreement that's been made with CalPERS, CalSTRS from those employees' issues, and this is an argument that I've heard a lot, not only through my involvement in the Jefferson movement, but in this divided together, how are we going to address this issue? I'm going to tell you how I would address the issue. Your contract with CalPERS or CalSTRS as a union employee ceases the day you come to work for the state of Ahwahnee or one of its jurisdictional districts.
Well, that's what I thought immediately. You can't. One of these other breakaway states could not be legally liable for a promise that another state had been made.
They're not, but that's why some of the people that would support this don't support state split movements,
because they expect that pension.
Because there's no answer to that question. There's no, because these old ass men.
Well, it only matters if you're part of that. If you're not in CalPERS or one of those.
You kind of mentioned you had some involvement in the state of Jefferson thing locally here.
Right.
Those old ass men, Mark Baird and Terry Raposa, don't understand how to explain this. Why? One, because Mark Baird.
I never heard it brought up, honestly.
Because Mark Baird has been a peace officer in this state. Mark Baird has been a firefighting apparatus pilot in this state. Mark Baird's retirement directly corresponds with one of those two organizations. And I'm sorry, Mr. Baird, that you're vested in those companies, CalPERS or CalSTRS.
So he has an interest in keeping them alive.
Right. You are vested there. And every other state or public employee is vested that has reached a point of vestment or tenure.
Right.
Won't lose those benefits. But moving forward,
because they're counting on them at this point.
Well, they're vested. They're going to get a percentage. They're legally vested in that retirement program. You can't take away retirement once you're vested in retirement.
Right.
You get that vested percentage. That's how it works. So when the formation of a new state comes along, well, you're no longer an employee of the state of California, so CalPERS, CalSTRS doesn't matter.
Right.
And the new state isn't mandated to continue paying your retirement at that rate. It's a new negotiated rate.
Right.
And they will come out and say everything has to be negotiated, but we don't have to keep CalPERS and CalSTRS.
Right.
Right? So they lose a lot of people that would support them because they don't know how to explain these things, because they have a vested interest in CalPERS or CalSTRS and don't want to lose their retirement. Hey, dumbasses, you're not going to lose your retirement if you're vested. So we can have all our states that we want.
Right.
And we can start new with that.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
So what's the counter argument to CalPERS and CalSTRS and the unfunded liability that would have to follow?
Right. They're scared of that. They're
a new state formation. Well, but they're scared because they're ignorant.
But you would have to figure out a new plan for covering those retirements that they're owed. Because if you dissolve the state of California, there'd be no one left to pay for it.
January 1. You start the new contract.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever whatever day you say that the new state formation is going to be. Say it's January 1, 2021.
Right.
So at January 1, 2020, they're still paying into the unfunded liability.
Right.
And you got a year, say that they'd had this year to figure out the contract with the new employees. It's plenty of time.
Right.
But you don't transfer that unfunded liability of the existing pension account to the new pension account.
Right.
Because
Well,
we've been as these areas contributing to that unfunded liability the whole time.
A big portion of this problem is the fact that California's already drowning in that situation before you even discuss bringing in new states. You know what I mean? They've already got the problem of we can't pay out all the pensions that have been promised to everybody.
Okay, so then you got to look at bankruptcy, right?
Maybe. But that would probably also just go along with the dissolution of the state, too.
Sorry, we don't have enough money to cover that. That's what unfunded liability means.
Right, exactly.
Your retirement program is insolvent, so there is no retirement for people past this point. Well, we have the answer, but we're going to make you closer to a private retirement program. Are you with us?
Right.
Or
like an actual invested bank account or something for the person.
Well, if you want to be union, you're union. If not, your wage is this. If you want to be a member of the union's going to take this percentage and reinvest it for you, or you can choose not to be a union employee of the state, city, or local government, and you invest your own retirement. Just like a private employee.
You would make unions optional then.
Well, they would have to be.
Well, they're not right now, are they? For government
if
employees?
you have the right to, okay, and here's where people get messed up. I almost dropped the F-bomb, but they got people messed up, right?
Uh-huh.
Because simply having the right to, what do they call that, collective bargain,
right,
doesn't mean that you give up your right to be free because the others want to collective
I agree
bargain.
With you, but
okay,
I think in California, all public employees are automatically unionized, right?
Why?
I don't think they have a choice about it.
Well, they have a choice, but they still have to pay all that stuff, right?
So even if they're not in the union, they still pay union dues?
Well, pretty much.
Okay, see, I don't know. I don't know how it works. I'm asking out of a genuine interest in learning this stuff.
I've heard people complain about, even though I'm not a union member, I still have to take the union medical and the union this and the union that. Well,
see, I worked for Turlock schools, so I've got a little bit of experience in CalPERS and the public employment, but I was only a sub. I never actually got hired on full time, so I didn't come near investment or any of that kind of stuff.
Right, and then some of those employees are able to opt out of Social Security, see?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's another scam.
Right, well, like a lot of people might not know this, but certain entities are not required to pay into Social Security because they have their own program separate from it.
Right. CalSTRS, CalPERS.
Yeah, like a lot of utility companies too. I think like MID and TID irrigation districts.
Well, MID and TID are part of that, CalPERS, CalSTRS. That's
right,
all.
But they're not actually government entities.
They are government entities.
They
have elected boards. They're
not in the
private.
Yeah, but not in the sense that you would think that other government entities are. My dad retired from MID.
Right, but if you take public monies, you're government.
But they're not government run.
But that's why
you elect a board of trustees for the irrigation districts.
Right, but that's part of the problem where we have all these public-private partnerships or public-private corporations, and they're mandating.
Well, it's
to
just
us,
one more step in the government taking total control over everything, which is what they would like.
Right.
Well, the more you can insert public into the private and make it a public/private. The easier that'll be.
Well, see, all you people can see how 8 from 1 is needed. We could correct all this stuff if we just started over. Just started over.
That's kind of what the whole country needs, honestly, is just to hit the reset button, man.
Right. It's like this first emergency declaration, okay, that Newsom did. Get to Section 7 and 8. So there's a 30-day time limit in the law as to how long some of these orders can last, and a 60-day time period in the law as to how some time frame for some of the other stuff will last.
And we've probably gone way past those time
well,
limits.
this was
haven't
all
we?
started March 4th.
Yeah, so we're
This
like
stuff's all started on March 4th.
we're like double those time
This
limits.
order's March 4th, and it says right here the 30-day time period in the Health and Safety Code, Section 10.10.80, in which a local governing authority must renew a local health emergency is hereby waived for the duration of this statewide emergency. Any such local health emergency will remain in effect until each local governing authority terminates its respective local health emergency.
So, in other words, he made it indefinite.
Okay, and then you come down to number 8, the 60-day time period in the Government Code, Section 8630, within which local government authorities must renew their local emergency is hereby waived for the duration of the state emergency. Any local emergency proclaimed will remain in effect until each local government authority terminates its respective local emergencies. Kirsten Olson, you're in power until January. I expect you right now to remove every local emergency declaration you have. A less than 1% death rate in this county is not an emergency. You are on notice, broad. Do it now.
She's the county supervisor, right?
She is the chairman of the County Board of Supervisors. Right. All 5 of you, Jim DeMartini, even though you're leaving, do it now. Remove them. And every other county in California needs to follow suit with my order. I have senior authority to the governor of the state of California. You know why? Because I am the people. Governor Newsom, the assembly, the legislature, and our local counties are letting us down. They are violating the law. Not only do they violate our rights on a daily basis, they're violating the law. Subsequently, any law or order that you make has to be in compliance with existing state, federal, or local statute. This is repugnant to that, and it's null and void from its inception. Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors needs to act, and they need to act now to remove these local state of emergencies.
Right. Yeah, I think the local city government should also be defying orders. But
well, no, Monday.
What are you going to do? The city councils all seem to be convinced that this is a real scare, too.
Well, what's happening Monday? What's happening Monday in our very own community? We both live in Ceres. What's happening Monday?
I'm not even sure what you're referring to.
If we want to go to the city council meeting, we have to do it right here.
Oh, yeah, it's only
Zoom
virtual now, huh?
Guess what? They're covered here in your local, right?
Mm-hmm.
Local health, that's our county. Local government, that's our city.
Right.
Chance Condit, Linda Rhino, Chris Vieira, Brett Dossett, Mike Klein. Pull your local orders now. Monday morning, you should pull that order. And Monday evening, Justin and I should be able to attend in person.
Yeah, I agree.
The city council meeting. Do it now. If you don't do it now, if you don't insist that it happens now, well, are you any better than Javier Lopez?
No, I mean, they're all going in along with the same game. Anybody that's in a position of authority and not opposing it, they're just going along with it.
Well, look, and I'm not just going to call out our state people. I just put our whole city council on blast.
Right.
I put up men that I support for election on blast.
Well, yeah, you had to vote for one of them. But I guess not. We had 2 other options for our city council this time. You're in the same district as me, right?
I'm in District 4.
Yeah. We had 4 options this time.
Well,
I knew it'd be a highly sought-after seat. It's basically the most important district in our town. Well, I mean, just for what's in it,
We don't need districts. Well, we're not even required by state law to have districts.
No, but I do see the benefit of them. It would be a lot easier to get elected now if you wanted to run than it would have been before we had the districts.
Yeah, but take our district. District 4. Take our district. It's split between 2 sides of the highway. It's 1 square block, from May Hensley Junior High.
They didn't necessarily draw the best district lines. They had several different plans. But what's the funny thing is 2 of our sitting council members even said, this is not my neighborhood. Okay, well then maybe you shouldn't run for re-election and let somebody that does feel like that properly defines their neighborhood run.
Well, Matthew's got it on his his screen over there.
Yeah, I
but he
see what
hasn't
you're saying, the split
screen
on
it
the-
up for us. But
Yeah, that's a
They did it
that's a
rather
weird-
weird. They did it rather weird. I actually would have been in a decent position to run for District 4 based on all my friends and family that are still in Ceres live in that district. But
well,
I mean, you'd be going up against the incumbent who was rerunning, and then Cooper Condit also.
Slide it over to the right a little bit, Matthew. You just kind of got it that district cut off there.
hold on.
Well, on what our listeners can see.
Yeah.
So,
Give it a second and I'll see.
So you kind of got these
The little nooks and crannies, yeah, like
disappeared
panhandles.
already.
They're like panhandles that they.
Yeah,
threw
and
in there.
you're grabbing this part of this district and that part of that district and the other part of the
No,
other
you're right. I
district.
think everything on the left-hand side of Highway 99 ought to be one district.
Right.
You know what I
should have
mean?
been District 2, all on one side of the highway. District 4 could then encompass
Like
the same
north of
side of
Hatch
the
or
highway.
something.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, and here, like, if you look at our map here,
But
that's a much cleaner map. This is Turlock.
Yeah. You know what? Anytime I look at a map of districts that someone else has drawn, I always pick it apart and go, I could have done a way better job than this. So, we could be just being too critical. But no, you're right. There's a lot of weird little nooks and crannies. What benefited me is, so with the green one, ours, you got all the downtown area and then that top little notch that's like Smyrna Park and the skate park.
Well, that's
and
where
Costa
I am
Fields.
over there.
Right. So like all my family, it's almost like they gerrymandered that district for me.
Well,
If I wouldn't have had to go up against an incumbent and a condit in the same running, I probably could have took that. If I had run unopposed, I definitely could have won it. No, but
somebody didn't check their damn Facebook messages because I was saying get a hold of me before.
dude, I went on like a fucking sick. Oh shoot, are we not supposed to cuss?
No,
I dropped
we
the
can.
F-bomb.
You're good.
My
This
bad.
is live.
Okay, I don't know. I'm trying to keep myself family friendly as possible here.
Hey,
I
you
went,
know what?
I went on like a 4-month
disclosure.
hiatus from Facebook.
Yeah, full disclosure.
that's why.
Full
Every once in a
disclosure.
while, I have to just turn it off and not even have a profile. I mean, delete it and everything, and then
Yeah,
I'll
well,
start
that's
a new
because
one
you
months
chase
later.
crazy ladies too. But
Well, that
we'll
is
go there.
that is one of my very. Wow, is it that apparent? You guys haven't even known me that long.
Yeah, dang.
No, it's
No,
just
full disclosure. You
I-
may get some profanity in the live version of our
Yes.
show.
Excellent.
Matthew will edit that out until such time as we decide we
Yeah,
don't
you can-
want to be a.
You can bleep it. You
a
can make me say
G-rated
flipping.
show.
I'll say flipping from now on.
No, just hey, speak off the cuff, dude.
Well, the thing is, once I get my own stuff going, it's going to be outrageous. I want to do a full on website
That'd be fantastic.
because I'm afraid YouTube and Facebook and all those platforms would kick me off once they really saw my content. Not that I'm really all that foul mouthed, but we talk about really weird stuff at my job. And I like to bring
That's
those
cool.
really weird
Yeah.
conversations to the public where people can hear it and go like, where do these guys come up with this stuff?
right there on the job site.
Yeah, when we're in a shop making road signs all damn day, just standing there slapping vinyl on metal and got
You ought
nothing
to
else
hear
to
the
do.
you ought to hear the profanity I come up with driving down the highway, baby.
Oh, are you a road rager?
I'm a commercial truck driver.
Oh, yeah.
and I have to have
You
a
see
heart,
the worst of the worst.
dude. I have to have a heart grabber about 20 times a day because people drive like,
Oh God,
man.
yeah. When I'm out there, so
It's terrible.
like I mentioned, I make road signs and,
So-
and signs for a
so-
living, but I also flag traffic.
So ass is okay because Matthew didn't put a mark.
No, I put a mark in there. I just
But yeah, I flagged for TID like I mentioned earlier. Man, that's you see some people doing some really stupid stuff, man. They don't know how to negotiate a closed lane or like a coned off work zone.
They don't know how to negotiate.
They get mad
a
at us.
wide open highway.
They get mad at us for trying to keep them alive. Like I'm literally out here to keep you from having a head-on collision, and you want to scream and yell and cuss at me and flip me off. I don't get it.
yeah,
Be nice to traffic flaggers, people. Wave at them, smile, give them candy.
I waved. The assholes on 99 or 104 look at me like I'm crazy. What are you waving at?
Yeah, I'll admit it makes our day though when a nice, pretty girl drives by and waves and smiles at us. So keep that up. You see people stopping you out there on the road is for your own safety, and be nice to them.
That fat white truck driver, though, they just give him the bird.
I try to let people like truck drivers like through without stopping them as much as possible.
That's great.
You know what I mean? We
that.
try to not stop people when we don't have to stop them, but sometimes it's absolutely necessary. So
you know what I don't like? When I'm in a loaded truck and I'm coming up on one of these, road closure situations, and you've had 34 cars in front of me, and I finally get up to you, and because there's a gap in between me and the car in front of me, because, hey, I just can't start rolling as fast as I'm.
Right.
Well, now you're going to turn your sign to stop.
Yeah, I'll admit I've been guilty of that.
You son of a bitch.
Hey, man, there's people. Yeah, but think about this, man. What if you're the truck driver on the other end of that closure that's already been waiting 2 minutes? Now he's got to wait 2 more minutes for his fucking associate over here to take his slow ass truck through. He's probably cussing you too.
I'm gonna go by like this.
The other truck driver at the end is like, I've already been waiting 5 minutes. They're gonna let this. There's 50 feet. They got room to stop him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're
I'm
thinking
gonna
the
go
same
through
thing
like
you're
this.
thinking, buddy.
Peace out, brown trout. I'm gone.
Hey, we could let you guys play a game of chicken and see who comes out on top, but that's not what we're paid for, man.
I race dirt modifieds. I mean,
yeah, I seen your little outlaw thing that you had there on the, or was that a buddy of yours that was building like the little dirt track?
Oh no,
racer?
no.
I see you had pictures of one.
Yeah, that's a friend of mine. He's building a wingless Sprint.
Oh, nice.
No, I race dirt modifieds, but I had a guy ask me if I was coming out to the Dirt Nationals at Merced this weekend. He said, "Are you bringing your derby car out?" No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, because he knows my car's tore up. Yeah, right. So yeah, no, I haven't even fixed it because it's a derby. So. In response to your phraseology there, I'm not scared to play chicken even in an 80,000 pound truck.
I bet you might not be scared, but you might be a little bit damning yourself afterwards.
Got good insurance.
You got good insurance? All right.
Yeah. FMCSA mandates it.
Well, I'll tell you what, next time I have 2 opposing semis and neither of them has a flammable trailer, maybe we'll just let them go at it. I'm joking, people. I'm joking. I will keep you safe through my road closures.
But you do have the liberty to play in that kind of environment if you'd like to.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mostly like the jobs where we're out in the middle of nowhere and there isn't any traffic to stop. I got a little Bluetooth speaker. I blast my music. I dance around with my sign and have a little street party, little one-man street party. Perfect. Yeah, it's awesome.
So who's watching us, Matthew? I got mine up. You got yours up. I see 3 eyes on there.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're watching, you can always ask us a question.
This will be shareable too after we live stream, right?
Yes, it'll be shareable
right now. I got it
30 seconds later.
Well, next time I'll bring my own computer and we can both be all snazzy with our ability to pull stuff up and share and all that.
Computer. This isn't. I don't know. Apple does not sponsor this show in any way, shape, or form.
Whatever. It's a computer. Hey. A telephone's a computer, man.
You know what? I'm not going to put a sticker over it.
They're just different size computers.
Hey, Apple, should you want to send us all 3 new of your fanciest products, we wouldn't. None of us would say that we wouldn't accept those.
I'll try out a MacBook Pro and give you guys my honest review of it.
We all have iPhones, iPads, so this is perfect. Apple, you can sponsor our show if you'd like.
Since we're naming sponsors, man, Fender guitars. If you guys want me to send me a Stratocaster, I'll jam it right here on the podcast, man.
That'd be awesome.
Victory Circle race cars.
Maybe I'll bring in my acoustic one of these days, and I can do some originals so we don't get sued for copyright infringement.
Hey, however. No, seriously, though. New Apple devices are appreciated.
Yeah. Hey, anything you want to send, as long as it's not illegal or deadly.
You can see, though, right here, I'm cross-sharing to Americans Restoring Representation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we try to get it out as much as possible.
I'll spread it around when I get home.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Share it. Maybe pick up some followers if we don't offend too many people.
I
think we've been pretty polite so far today.
I cross-share it on my own personal platform. The Jefferson royalty there, Baird and Raposo.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can name a couple people I'm sure John's offended, but we offend them on a weekly basis, so it doesn't really matter.
Calling people retards ain't going to help, but you know what? I mean,
whoa. I didn't call any private individual a retard.
No, you called government officials retards.
Are they being retarded?
Well, yeah.
So
I'm not. Did I say I was offended by it? I said other people might be offended by it.
Well, they don't have a right to be offended.
I'm just telling everybody, you got to work really hard to offend me. That would be a goal. That would be a real feat. You ever have me complaining to the ACLU about something, you're going to be like, wow,
The ACLU probably already has complaints about you.
They probably do. I'm probably a Nazi in some people's opinions. You know what I mean?
Some
I'm
trucker
pretty sure-
called you.
If you're if you're not a full-on Marxist, some people think you're a fascist.
I'm pretty sure there's a few women out there that have made complaints.
Oh, well, maybe after the fact. No, yeah. I'm not on the friendliest.
Matthew laughs like he's
I'm
had
not
the
on the friendliest
opportunity
basis
to have.
with all of my girls, my exes, but Matthew, I think, is just entertaining the jibber jabber.
Some of us aren't.
I think we're being very revealing for a first episode. But that's fine.
Well,
I don't
it
mind
allows-
if my audience gets to know me a little bit.
It allows people to get to know you on a more
Anybody-
personal level.
Probably anybody that actually watches this is people that already know me, so they know what to expect.
Well, we hope
They're going to
that
be like, Justin was tame.
I
I
want
can't
him to
believe
watch
he
it.
believed. I can't believe he behaved himself that whole
I
time.
want him to watch it. I want everybody you know to watch it. I want everybody
Yep.
you know to participate. I want everybody you know to garner the
Heck yeah.
education that the three of us have to share with you.
And they can enlighten us too. I always, I welcome feedback, even if it's something I don't want to hear. Even if you
Well-
want to cuss me and be rude, I'll just, delete it and move on.
Cuss me and be rude. Just be willing to know I'm going to cuss you and be rude back.
See, that was the worst part about running for an elected office. Because when I'm running a Facebook ad and somebody's like, hey, jerkhole, blibbity blob, I can't be like, screw you, douchebag, because I got to think
can.
about all the other people whose votes I'm trying to get that I don't want them to see that.
Well, if they don't want to hear me saying screw you, douchebag, then they're not true patriots anyway.
That's true. Hey, I might have picked up voters that way, huh? Maybe people have been like, God, this guy doesn't hold back.
I'm telling you what, if you called somebody a mongoloid needle something jug player,
I wanted to tell a few people to screw off right there on the open forum. I'm not going to lie, man.
That would have been
People are
sorry.
like rude and hateful for no reason.
That'd have been too many bleeps for Matthew. I had to, stop that 1 minute. by myself.
And you know what's funny is a third party guy.
Oh, man, it's the
take
Rona.
You take heat from both sides, man. I
Well,
had
get me.
Republicans and Democrats both being just
Yeah, I bet.
rude and hateful and insulting for no reason.
Don't get
I'm
me
like, you
laughing.
guys don't even know my stances on these things. Like,
Yeah.
their idea of me taking a stance was like, are you left wing or right wing? Are you Democrat or Republican? I'm like, I'm neither. I'm
Well-
libertarian. So you're a fence sitter. Like, no, I have ideas on every issue. They just kind of blend between the two sides, and then
Shut
Then-
the hell up. I
Fun-
fly with both damn wings, and if you
Right.
don't like it,
and finally
you're
I-
going to crash.
I did make the comment to this one guy that I tend to disagree with Democrats a little more than I do the Republicans. Oh, finally I got you to take a stance. I'm like, take a
No, I
stance
didn't
on
take a
what? We haven't
stance.
discussed a single issue. All you're trying to do is put me in one box or the other, and I won't go, and you're getting mad about it. Like,
You know what I
You
love?
didn't get me to take a stance because we haven't discussed anything. Pick a topic, and we'll say what our feelings are on it.
Dude, I'll be on Facebook. Josh Harder will post something up, and God, I hate that.
I
Keep
just
going
like
to
reading
Josh
the
Harder.
comments.
Or Kamala Harris will post something, or Dianne Feinstein will post something, and I'll go on there and I'll just tell these people, I'll try to educate them, start out telling them how things are, what the Constitution says, what our statutes say,
they just
what all
insult
this
you.
stuff says. Oh, no, they go to government code to justify that I'm wrong because, the legislature could pass something, and the legislature could tie that to, the Commerce Clause or General Welfare Clause. Well, right, in direct violation of the text of the Constitution, though.
Right.
And they'll be like, well, da-da-da-da-da, and then I'll say, you're just ignorant. Well, don't call me names. No, that ignorant and retard, that's more of a description of your behavior.
Right.
People are so friggin' sensitive that they can't separate nouns and verbs.
Right.
Bro, this is like first grade stuff, though, yeah?
Right.
And these grown-ass adults that are voting and telling me to stay home and not vote don't understand the difference between a verb and a noun.
And the thing is, and I could tell this from speaking to you, you really don't need to use the insults or names or stuff because you actually have valid comments and like a legitimate thought process on things. You may not always be right. You may be right or wrong on certain subjects, but you at least can explain your thoughts on a subject.
Holy shit. And
That right there removes the need to go straight to insults.
Hey, and
or
I can
name calling.
I can break you down without using one swear word.
Exactly.
I can micromanage
That means you have a vocabulary.
I can micromanage your self-esteem to a level of non-existence simply by explaining logic, reason, and
Right.
fact to you.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I'd like to do like what you said. I would rather describe a person with really big adjectives that are still demeaning but are not actually like name calling, because then I'm like doing it on an intellectual level. You might have to look up the words that I'm insulting you with. That is awesome there.
You can be the most educated person on this planet and receive your education from Harvard, Yale, or
And
Boston
still be
University and still be able to be insulted through the smallest of words. And when I say that, inept. Mic drop. Done.
There you go.
5 letters. INEPT. Lacking all common sense.
Right.
I didn't say, hey, stupid.
Right.
Stupid is a noun, so you all know.
Right.
Used in that context. It also
It
a verb.
could be an adjective.
Or verb.
Right.
Depends on in what context you're using it.
Right.
But when you say someone is ignorant, you are not calling them a name.
Right.
That's totally descriptive about their educational level.
Yeah, you're using
And
it
what
in
they
adjective
should
sense.
know in the only sense that it can be used.
Right.
Ignorant is ignorant. It's descriptive about you have the mental capacity to understand this, yet you, through opinion, choose not to understand this.
Right.
Right? So what's opinion? You got opinions. Matthew's got opinions.
even-
I got opinions.
even
And
if
ain't none
you-
of them based in fact.
Even if you break down the root of the word ignorant, what's the first part of it? Ignore. Ignorant. That means you're somebody who ignores things. It doesn't mean you're stupid and incapable of learning. It means that you don't learn or you choose not to. That's ignorant. And ignorant and stupid are two different things. So for you to say someone's ignorant really shouldn't even be an insult. It should be an awakening. Like, hey, man, there's things here you are ignoring. Listen to
I'm
them.
awake. And unlike
I
last
talk
week,
with my hands sometimes, man.
and unlike last week, John was awake on time this week.
Nice.
I was not.
You still not. You ain't even brushed your
No.
hair. That's why you ain't got your
No.
camera on.
No.
He-
Yeah, that's the real reason.
Matthew blame not having a camera on the battery. Not
Or he
being
might just
charged.
enjoy being like that unseen voice.
I mean,
that
I
comes
do
from the
enjoy.
background.
I definitely do enjoy being that, but I wouldn't mind having a camera just so it can be split screen and be all fancy.
Yeah.
You want to know the real reason we need Justin? Because, Matthew's hard to get engaged with. Matthew doesn't want to talk. We've done podcasts together, going on 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
Matthew wants to sit in the back and play Fortnite on his phone like this.
That's funny. And you and me are so into
Call of
it.
Duty. What are you talking? Okay.
We're so into it. We've gone off subject like 15 times already. We're way off topic, man. We're talking about the Green New Deal and but that's what we're, that's good. That's a good free flowing conversation.
Yeah.
Right,
You know what I mean?
but let's be legitimate about it. For about the first 45 minutes, we were like deep on subject.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
topic.
Well, it's good that
mean,
you had notes to refer to. You know what I mean? But
You think
we could improv this thing
Ain't
every time.
none of my notes got anything to do. Half the page we took care of in 40 minutes. The rest of it I did in 35 seconds. I added some stuff in there. And
Hey, I like the organic flow of our conversation.
well, good. We'll get along great.
We were set for success today because before I came here, I was playing my guitar and I was just feeling the musical flow. Like I was just hitting licks and feeling my stride and singing good. And I'm like, we're going to come have a good show, man.
Well, we're going to have a good show every week.
Man,
show
this
every
is
week.
going to be regular, people, so get used to it. Like I
Yep.
said, we're probably being tame right now because I got to get used to me for when I launch my own website.
Justin thought we
There
just
you go.
wanted
I think
talk
I'm going to call it thequig.com, just thequig.com, because most people nickname me Quig or
There you
Quigley,
go.
Justin Quigley.
I like it.
Have you ever had any ambitions of living in Australia?
I would like to visit there, but no, the name is like
Well,
Scots-Irish. People don't realize that in that movie, Tom Selleck was from Wyoming, and he traveled to Australia 6 months on a boat, if you remember the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And then they wanted him to kill Aborigines. Like, that's bullshit, man. Started killing the settlers instead. That's a great movie, man. Quigley Down Under. That's what we're talking about, if you guys don't know. It's a great movie.
What was her name?
My
Clara?
namesake.
Was her name Clara?
The crazy one?
Yeah.
Crazy Cora. Cora.
Cora.
Yeah, she always called him Roy. She
Yeah.
thought he was her ex-husband.
The baby, Roy, the baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great movie, man. I think I have it on DVD at home.
DVD? You still got a DVD player?
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
Oh, dude, I've got complete
I think
collections
I got
of
a-
all the great shows.
I think I
man.
got a VHS in the attic still.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I don't have that.
I don't even own one.
My DVD at
a
least
single VHS.
My
You're
DVD
too
player
young
at least
for
is like 4K and Bluetooth and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Or not Bluetooth, Blu-ray. But I mean, I have the complete series of like
Blu-ray.
the old Twilight Zone,
You say
Tales from
Blu-
the Crypt.
You say Blu-ray like it's something special. I can get a Blu-ray player at
Oh, yeah,
Walmart for
no, I don't even-
$7.99.
I don't even own any Blu-ray movies. They're all DVD. I didn't see the point in upgrading. I'm like, oh, so I can go from this disc to this disc that's just like it, but a little shinier. No, thanks.
And more expensive.
Exactly. Yeah. The package is thinner. Cool. No, I'm all right. I'll stick with DVDs. But it's like I'm saying, I got a new one that's like, capable of all the crap or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a smart DVD. I didn't even know they had those. I guess it plugs into the internet.
Everything plugs into the internet.
Everything's smart these days.
My watch
right?
plugs into the internet.
Yeah, for sure. If it's electronic, they make a smart version of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine does too.
Yep.
And there we come back to another Apple and Fitbit commercial.
These guys are going to owe us big bucks by the time this show is over.
Apple and Fitbit are not producers of this show.
But they can be if they'd like to.
Exactly.
They don't sponsor our show, but Matthew's, displaying the iWatch over there, Apple Watch, whatever you want to call it. I got the Fitbit, which is now Google's competition to the iWatch. Both of them are beyond overly sensitive and break way too easy.
Yeah, I can't treat it like I treated my other watches.
Gorilla Glass is not quite gorilla strength.
I guarantee you this wouldn't hold up to being smashed against a brick wall by accident. I've done that before with my
How
other
about on
watches.
purpose?
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot scratch a Fitbit or it voids the warranty.
Really?
I said,
Oh,
how are you
wow.
going to have a warranty that excludes normal wear and tear?
Yeah.
Basically, you don't have a warranty.
On
That's what
something
I-
that you're supposed to wear while you're getting exercise, nonetheless, right? I mean, that's what it's
Yeah.
mainly for.
What if my dumb
How you
trips
supposed to
over my shoe
exercise?
string?
You can exercise, but don't dare scratch that watch while you're exercising.
What
I
if
guess
my
that excludes like push-ups and pull-ups and sit-ups and weightlifting
Okay.
and volleyball
What
and basketball and football. And
I'm jogging down the sidewalk, or in my case, simply walking, and I trip over my own feet, and my watch hits the sidewalk. It's scratched. Well, your warranty's expired, but guess what? Because it's a touchscreen device, now it no longer functions because
Ooh.
it's
right,
scratched.
because it's cracked or whatever. Yeah.
No,
That's
because
stupid.
it's scratched.
Oh, even a scratch will make it not work.
Oh
right?
yeah, man.
No,
These things are super sensitive. They're
I don't even wear a regular watch, much less a smartwatch.
they're like an adolescent female with her first cycle. I mean, they're bad. And full disclosure, I can say that I have a 19-year-old daughter now, so I've experienced this, and that sensitivity is much like a 16-year-old boy that can't take the car out for the weekend. So
It sounds like you've had one of those too.
I don't have it. I don't have a male child,
Oh,
but
no.
I've just covered.
Oh, you've been that
You've
male
been
child.
that male
He's
child.
been that 16-year-old son that's not allowed to take the car out.
You know
I
what?
got it.
I was the one fixing the car, so I don't think that my mother told me no very often. I will
Until
fix
she
it.
found out you were drag racing it after you fixed it up.
There wasn't no drag racing.
Street racing?
There was no street
There was no
racing.
quarter-mile marks. We
But
just
we
went
had
for it. It was on the 99,
Yeah,
man. It was more like
exactly.
NASCAR.
You know what? Matthew may not appreciate this, but growing up, we had an 83 Malibu station wagon. It was silver. It had chrome bullet hole wheels. That car, that G-body Malibu wagon
Nice.
with the 231 V6, that thing was badass, man. Everybody was
I know what
like-
it is. Never
You know
driven
what it
one,
is.
never driven in one. But
So-
I do know what it is.
So needless to say, there's a special place in my heart for the G-body General Motors product. And,
Right.
when I decided to build a drag car, I went out and got me a Cutlass Supreme. I got an 85 Cutlass Supreme. We're making that thing into a straight line car.
Excellent.
Woo, buddy.
Nice.
Those G-bodies just got that special place. All these guys, they want to use this G-body car for a lowrider, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, man, I'm making a Fugazi First Olds all the way.
Nice. Nice.
There ain't going to be nothing but one seat in it, a roll bar. We're going to go fast.
Sounds like fun.
It sounds like that movie Death Proof, the Quentin Tarantino movie. You ever seen it? Kurt Russell.
No.
Oh, what? You guys got to watch that.
Well,
man.
it gets back to go to my Well, you can even get it off the ARR Facebook page. There's a picture of the fire suit on there. And one last thing before we go, we'll touch on that subject. I haven't shared that with Justin or Matthew yet, but I think a lot of the things we talked about today with the introducing Justin to the 8 from 1 portion of the Americans Restoring Representation, we can conclude with this story. So you see some of them there starting there. Look,
This one?
specifically for a picture of the arm, Matthew.
That one.
So if
That
you
one?
look at that picture, and it's not up on our deal yet. So when this fire suit was designed, 8 from 1 divided together hadn't been conceptualized yet.
Kind of has like a Evil Knievel look to it.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
but
Reminiscent.
yeah, there's some that are more Evil Knievel look but out there. How come I don't have it on my screen anymore?
It's delayed by a bit. It'll be delayed by like 6 to 7
Yeah,
seconds.
but it was there. You can see us.
Yeah, I was swapping
looking
things
at it.
around.
So anyway, when the design for the suit was made, the designer at KX3 and I were working together with the different logos, where to place them, the colorization, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And he had many, like I want to say 6 or 7 stars, smaller stars down the sleeve. And I told him, dude, that's too busy. Take some of those out of there.
Right.
And then the proof has 4 stars on it, but I didn't put that together.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometime this suit actually was delayed because of the coronavirus and some other factors in the industry. The design of the suit was finalized in February of 2020. Sharon came up with the 8 from 1 concept, I want to say around June.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Rona and the other delays inherent with the production of a custom race suit, I totally forgot about the total design of the suit.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, Sharon and I were both disenfranchised with coronavirus shutting down the petition, and we thought this couldn't go anywhere, that we just cease all activity on it. And then the suit she gets the 8 from 1 idea. We're kind of getting re-energized, and then we kind of get discouraged because the feedback hasn't started coming in on that. And then we're to the point where we'll just let it be what it be. If it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. We're not going to push it. And I get this fire suit in the mail, and I open it up, and there's 4 stars on one sleeve and 4 stars on the other.
Right.
And our logo in the center. And you want to tell me that whether you're atheist, whether you're Christian, Catholic, Jewish, whatever divine providence you believe in, that some higher authority's not telling me that I'm on the right path, that we need to do this to save our nation, to save our state. Why at that point not even putting 2 and 2 together in hindsight? Why would 4 stars on each arm look right? Why would the 5 or the 6 he had there not look right?
Mm-hmm.
And Matthew can contest to this. We were out front of his house looking at coloring and how he should paint his house, and I'm telling him, keep everything in odd numbers. Keep everything in odd numbers. Aesthetically, that's going to look better. But on this fire suit, aesthetically, 8 stars is what caught my eye. 8 stars is what looked right.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to tell me there's no divine intervention in this? I won't ever believe it, because the proof's right there.
Right.
And I bring this up to a libertarian leaning person that never has heard the concept of 8 from 1, and you're like, you can see where that would be great.
Right.
So
It was like on a subconscious level for you, kind of.
well, and I got to be honest, I didn't come up with the 8 from 1 on my own.
Right.
But and I'm not like,
It's like all the coincidental signs lined up.
right,
To
and I'm
tell
not
you
like,
I'm on the path I should be on. Yeah.
I'm not like very religious. I don't sit in church every Sunday. I as a matter of fact, I don't attend church services, period.
Right. Yeah, I haven't been in years. I grew up going to church as a kid, but
Right,
I haven't as an adult.
But I'm here to tell you that divine intervention is there, and that the Spirit's there and guides us and directs us into utilizing us for the purposes that the Almighty wants.
Right.
And part of that is in this type of, hey, look, you need to keep going. You need
Right.
this 8 from 1 and this representation issue is important to your liberty and to your well-being.
Right.
And to everyone else's as well, and you need to keep going. And that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I want to end the show, that there is divine providence in what we're doing. And it's the same divine providence that formed this nation.
Right.
And you're receiving that from a multi-generational descendant of the men that formed the Massachusetts Bay Colony. So, with that being said, I'm done with the show for the week. I don't know where Matthew and Justin are, but
Yeah, I think we had a good first run. And I would just, adding to what you were saying, is I think you're right. And I think it's important for people to know that there's hope. And a lot of your ideology or what you're talking about here is not something that really should conflict with people's political views. What you're getting at more is we need to break things down on a smaller, more localized level so that people have more say and control over their governance and their own lives. And I think you're onto something. I've liked what you've told me, and I look forward to doing more podcasts and continuing this. And yeah, I'm definitely interested in learning more about this, and I will, so that I can speak about it more educated. Sorry.
well, right,
Little brain fart there.
We'll get you everything you need.
I'll get myself more informed so I can actually engage with you and help inform the audience and bring up more ideas. Because the more people you bring into ideas like this, you're going to start having questions brought up that you may never even have thought about. You know what I mean?
Boy, I pretty much thought about it all.
Right. Well, you think that, but you never know. There's some obscure stuff that someone might come out with that you're like, wow, I never even had considered that as something that needed to be a question,
Right.
Just, it might be stuff that's not even political or social, but just, related to the different geographical areas that you're talking about creating here.
Right.
But yeah, I think the map that you drew seems a lot more sensible than some of the other proposals I don't know who drew it, but the map that is drawn for this.
Yeah, I can't take credit for that. That's all Sharon Durst.
It looks more reasonable than other California dividing maps that I've seen that didn't make sense to me. That one at least looked like it was kind of broken up in areas that do, like you put it, they're areas that are somewhat like maybe economically dependent or at least interchanging with each other.
Culturally.
Exactly.
She really took a lot of consideration into that, and my official stance as a co-founder of Americans Restoring Representation is that's what we need to do. Those eight states, because of the provenance, the divine intervention that comes from what we just explained with the fire suit.
Right.
On a personal level, as somebody that always pushes back against authority, whether it's governmental authority or divine authority, I'd like to see us combined with Fresno down to Kern. But that's just a personal belief. I absolutely think that should we choose to combine two states in the future, if it happens, that's up to the whole sum of the people. But our push needs to be for this 8 from 1, because I think there's divine providence behind it, and I think the hand of whatever you call your supreme being is on this movement.
Right.
All right.
So you want to give them our phone number and all that stuff so they can call us?
Sounds good.
We do have the ability to take calls
Yes,
during
we do.
the show. So when we give out this phone number, and you people have a question that's on topic of our live discussion, we are doing this live so that we can engage with you. So call us, email us. Some of the listeners have my personal contact information or Matthew's, and that's how we got the listener feedback for this show. But absolutely engage with us. And Justin's here as a third voice, and you know.
And if you leave us a voicemail, there's a great possibility it gets played on the show because I can do that off my phone.
And just in case anyone is curious about libertarian ideas or philosophies or the party, I'm happy to answer any questions or help give any insight that people might be curious. And if it's something I can't cover, I still know like many people in the party, like the chair and vice chair for the state part. A lot of people that are still very involved. So I can get any information or answer questions that I might not even know.
Right.
If anybody's curious about it, because you hear us, it will be talked about occasionally. I'm not going to like try to shove it down anyone's throat, but just it's out there for people to learn about.
Sounds good. Alrighty, well, I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode of Forgotten Liberty Radio. If you are not watching our live stream, you can catch us Saturday mornings at 9, or just go to our Facebook page and you can find all our scheduled and upcoming events there. As John mentioned, email us feedback at forgottenlibertyradio.com or give us a call 209-214-8099. That's 214-8099. If you haven't already, subscribe to our podcast in all of the major podcast players, iTunes, Spotify, etc., all of the above. We really appreciate you listening to this episode, and we'll catch you next time.